10 times trash talking backfired in MMA. Nowadays, trash talking, or sledging, is so common in sports. So in today's video, I'd like to tell you 10 trash talking times that backfired in MMA fights that trend between everyone. Sometimes fighters lose their cool due to pressure, fear of losing the fight, or many other factors. The problem with trash talking in mixed martial arts is that eventually you have to step into the octagon and live up to your words, where outspoken UFC fighters prove to be all bark and no bite. So without any further delay, let's get straight into the video. Michael Bisping versus Jorge Rivera. Hailing from Milford, Massachusetts, Jorge El Conquistador Rivera was the epitome of a journeyman fighter. Tough as nails, but never a top contender, his tenure in the UFC stretched all the way back to The Ultimate Fighter Season 4 before he'd make his first appearance with a winning effort against David Loazo at UFC 44 back in 2003. The owner of Apache record both in and out of MMA's top promotion, it seemed that any chance of reaching the upper echelons of the sport had all but elapsed. But at UFC 127 in 2011, Rivera had one last chance to stake his claim as a man with upside potential when he faced off against the Count, Michael Bisping.
Rivera looks out of it. It's here when a guy gets... I think he gets 5 minutes. I think they have to decide when...
Dr. Jeff Davidson.
Stopping the fight. Wow. He's very well. Wow.
Tito Ortiz versus Chuck Liddell 3. Once perched at the very top of the UFC's pecking order, the Huntington Beach bad boy Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell were the crown jewels in the company's promotional machine during the early Zuffa days. Although they'd once maintained a firm friendship, things soon turned bitter between the organization's breakout stars and would result in a title eliminator bout between the two at UFC 47. After he was left in a heat by the Iceman, the increasing bad blood between Ortiz and Liddell's close friend and the organization's president Dana White gave an extra level of intrigue to the rematch at UFC 66, but he dispatched Tito in clinical fashion once again. Fast forward to 12 years later, and the two would be booked to square off against one another for Golden Boy Promotions, and Chuck was as confident as ever. A bona fide trailblazer for women's MMA, it took the rise of Rowdy Ronda Rousey for Dana White to cast aside his vehement belief that there'd never be females in the UFC and set up the bantamweight division. Upon capturing the title in the inaugural bout at UFC 157 against Liz Carmouche, the eventual WWE star became a genuine phenomenon and tore through the women's division with her trademark armbar and explosive judo-based offense. Save for ongoing feud with Miesha Tate, the early stages of Ronda's time in the spotlight was all business, and she abstained from participating in the well-worn routines of the media circus. But after gradually rising through the rankings and dispatching many of Ronda's training partners, Betch Pitbull Correa had more ideas. Throughout the pre-fight press obligations, Betch made things intensely personal and cast allusions towards the untimely death of Ronda's father via suicide. Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm. Spurred on by arrogance rather than any real malice, Rousey would soon feel the bitter sting of eating her words when she squared off against Holly Holm. A seasoned kickboxer with a stand-up game that far outweighed that of the Olympic medalist in judo, everyone expected Rousey to follow her tried and tested game plan and take her to the ground, but it appeared that she underestimated her opponent. Split by a 6-year age gap, Ronda's pre-fight rhetoric all hinged around the fact that the older Albuquerque, New Mexico fighter simply didn't have the fortitude to stand at the top of the mountain. Justin Gaethje versus James Vick. Although the stakes may not have been as high as some entries on this list, there were few things more satisfying than watching Justin Gaethje completely dismantle James Vick and prove that all of his pre-fight talks was nothing but bluster. At every juncture on the way to the fight at UFC Lincoln, the comically named Texecutioner derided Justin as a B-level fighter and that he would expose and even went as far as to call them the Homer Simpson of MMA. In the face of being labeled a clown, Gaethje decided not to rise to the torment and simply declared that he lit a fire under my ass. In the end, it took only 90 seconds for Vick to be left unconscious and left with a huge slice of humble pie to eat for dessert when he arose from his slumber.
And I'm going to land something big and I'm going to knock him out.
Last year, and I won my fights. You lost 2 out of 3. You fucking suck, dude.
I've made more money in bonuses.
You padded your record against B-level competition.
I made $200,000 in bonuses.
You've been breaking your hand, patting yourself on the ass, bro.
A question for James. Are you gonna run like a bitch though?
Beating, but you will get knocked the fuck out. You take 10 significant strikes per minute. That's 53 rounds of me taking all that beating like that. You're
So the
29
answer is
years
yes
old and
or not?
you're 29, bro, so you're getting knocked out. No, I'm not gonna stand like a retard and fight the 3 rounds for sure.
Kamaru Usman versus Tyron Woodley. For a period of almost 3 years, brash technical wizard and occasional rapper Tyron Woodley was at the top of the UFC's welterweight pecking order. Buoyed by impeccable wrestling skills and jaw-jacking knockout power, there was a time when the American top team stalwart seemed capable of living up to his moniker of the Chosen One and was making a beeline for pound greatness. Or at least he was, until he ran into the immovable object known as Kamaru Usman at UFC 235. In the weeks leading up to the fight, Tyron seemed completely nonplussed by the prospect of squaring off with the Nigerian American and felt that he had nothing on opponents that he'd already cast asunder.
Don't back up.
Watch the people that
you know
said
what?
that before.
Hey, don't matter.
Everybody that said that before.
Listen. Anybody could put their head down, throw a haymaker, and pray, hope it lands.
I'm top 3 for the most knockdowns in welterweight history.
Hey, that last, the punch that you 6.
No, don't fool yourself, brother.
How many you have?
Don't fool yourself.
How many you have? How many KOs, TKOs you have?
None.
How many
nice
you
try.
have?
Bruh.
Cody Garbrandt versus TJ Dillashaw. When a UFC Bantamweight Championship fight between Cody "No Love" Garbrandt and tenured but slightly injury-prone veteran Dominic Cruz was announced, it's fair to say that the vast majority of fans and pundits thought that the Dominator's analytical and unorthodox approach would be too much for the hot-headed young upstart to handle. But after spending his youth watching Dominic lay waste to the competition in WEC, Cody overcame the odds and beat Cruz at his own game with plenty of panache to spare. Following his victory, the Team Alpha Male fighter was placed on a collision course with his former friend and sparring partner turned mortal enemy, TJ Dillashaw. Deserting from their Sacramento camp in order to work with Dwayne "Bang" Ludwig, their relationship gradually devolved from an amicable departure into something far more fractious.
Just wanted to ask you about what Chris Holdsworth said on Monday.
It's all like, come on, man. This is all super predictable.
Predictable.
No truth to it?
Just like I don't have a knock, and then like I knocked him out and don't have a video of it.
It's already been, yeah.
I do practice.
0, motherfucker.
Exactly.
We're gonna find out.
Saturday, you're gonna find out.
You can talk all you want, show your
dude. I had you in your own locker.
I'm gonna break your ass.
Yeah, I had you in your own locker room, me and you together. Ready. How many times did Dwayne Ludwig come up to Chris Holdsworth and say, "Hey, Grasshopper, take it easy on TJ today. Never quit practice,
all the fucking time.
I'm gonna make you quit.
Yeah,
you can do all the conditioning in the world with your new."
Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Rose Namajunas. Much like Ronda Rousey before her, UFC strawweight Joanna Jędrzejczyk became so infallibly dominant that journalists eventually began to dispense with spelling her surname and simply referred to her as Joanna Champ. Never one to steer away from mind games, Joanna was emboldened by her undefeated record of 14-0 and the widespread adoration that she received from fans the world over. Faced with the difficult task of besting thug Rose Namajunas, she resorted to what some would see as foul play in an attempt to rankle her UFC 217 opponent, leveling accusations of mental instability at her due to a history of schizophrenia in her family and the sexual abuse that she'd experienced at a young age ensured that she was broken already. But in the face of all these derisory remarks, Rose remained calm and opted to really try to understand what mental illness is, even as Joanna declared that the Boogie Woman is coming for you. When UFC 217 rolled around, Rose maintained her composure once more and left her on the Octagon floor within 3 minutes and 3 seconds of round 1. As of 2019, Joanna is yet to avenge this loss, even after a valiant effort in April 2018.
And that's something that I think, it could be a mental health awareness. I think I'm a champion for that, and I'm much stronger from it, and I'm going to continue to be stronger.
Hey, listen to your friends. How you want to be a champion and deal with all of the things? You know what? You are not stronger mentally. You are mentally anxious.
Chael Sonnen versus Anderson Silva. The quintessential trash talker, Chael Sonnen arguably paved the way for the modern MMA landscape, in which a way with words can be the skeleton key to all your matchmaking dreams. In fact, he even turned himself into a pantomime villain for an entire nation. During a relentless campaign that spanned 2 comedy-laden years, the American gangster would let everyone that would listen know that UFC middleweight champion Anderson Silva absolutely sucked and aimed to end his multi-year reign at UFC 117. After a hard-fought battle in which he dominated the Spider, Sonnen was forced to tap out to a masterfully applied triangle choke. But if we thought that'd result in Chael easing off on the offensive, we had another thing coming. During his campaign to get a rematch, Sonnen wrapped up the intensity in every way possible. Between claiming that he'd pat his wife, little lady, on the ass and tell her to make me a steak medium rare, telling a far-fetched story about Silva's Nogueira brothers' teammates trying to feed a bus a carrot, and painting Brazilians as a primitive culture where kids still played in the mud, it's no surprise that Anderson made short work of him in the rematch with a TKO in round 2. Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. If any man ever parlayed his gift of the gab into cold hard cash, it's Conor McGregor. The patron saint of combat sports to some, and an overhyped court jester to others, his flashy style and clairvoyant ability to predict a fight's outcome made him the highest earning fighter in UFC history and made every fight turn into a global event. After years of back and forth between the two, Conor's return to the MMA world would see him fight the Eagle, Khabib Nurmagomedov, in what was one of the most anticipated fights of all time. Over a year removed from his foray into boxing to take on Floyd Money Mayweather, Conor declared that he'd come back to the sport for the love of it and to rid it of a little rat, a little weasel. Born of Conor's decision to storm the UFC 223 media day and approach Khabib for intimidating his teammate Artem Lobov, the incident would end with Conor hurling a dolly through the bus window and getting arrested with a $50,000 bail for his efforts.
Whiskey from a proper Irish. That's what I'm talking about. I came out, almost didn't get the bottle in through the arena. I anticipated that. I anticipated slide bottle brought in. You know, you see how tricks up my back pocket all over the gas. They wouldn't have my fucking belts up here. I'd love a glass, or not a glass, even a cup, people here, of my proper 12 Irish whiskey, if we could get that. If not, I'm probably gonna get empty. I don't know what I'll do with this man and an empty bottle. You know what I'm like? Plastic cup, please. Thank you.
All right,
or
there we
please
go.
don't.
That was wild from a crowd standpoint. How does this mindset affect you, a fan base?
You know,
it's showing the boss's birthday.
I am not underestimating this guy. And when I go to the cage,
just let me give him buzz at parties.
I never do.
You mad backwards cunt. You're dead when I get my hands on you, do you hear me? Me and the Irish Boston animal, Dana White, the OG of the fight game. He'll suck this back.
It's gonna be a long night.
Yes.
He knows this.
Lord, save me that.
He knows this. He knows this.
It'll be a long night. Trust me, mate. I'm ready for a long night. You hold on to leg in this chicken there. You shit your jocks when shit came on top. But you actually, anyway, you dive for the legs and hold on to them for dear life. What kind of fighting is that? Your little fake belt over there to be a guy, number 11 ranked, a real estate. Now you're up on the real shit, kid. You're with the real dogs now, brother, yeah? And you're gonna pay-per-view. And I am gonna love every fucking second of it. I hope it's a long night.
Next question.
Conor, do you think he's gonna stand up with you for at least one round and swing it all?
Try and do. He's gonna be swinging wildly like he is, sloppy, shooting for the legs. No. I've never met an unbeaten amateur in the professional game. I mean, he's half has been decisions. He's in over his head. I'm gonna pick him apart.
Khabib, is it difficult for you to maintain your composure in this situation when he's getting up, getting in your face?
And that's it for this video. Don't forget to leave this video a like and subscribe to this channel for more info. As soon as you get that done for me, I'll take care of your knowledge and learning experience, so we both win.